And you're sure it's him?
Well, we can't be sure until he's awake. We've been working on him for almost a week to make sure we can at least try to wake him.
Mr. Stodd, is that you?
Oh, thank fuck, you're awake. Reggie? You're back! I didn't think you'd be back till tomorrow. Hello, sir. I'm happy to be back. What do you mean he won't be going back on the flyer? As I said, the board unanimously agreed that 8023 will not be allowed back on the Refuge flyer until it is proven to be in sound mechanical order. You know who did it, don't you?
Hart. It was Hart who did it.
I don't care what it takes. This piece of shit is getting sent packing from my railway. No matter what. Wait. That's it! He's filling in for Buck, which means he'll be on Buck's first train of the day. We can derail him somewhere and get him sent packing. Fight fire with fire.
That doesn't sound like a good idea. Isn't that exactly what he did to Riley?
I don't care, mate. He tried to kill Riley, our friend. Mr. Stodd said no holding back this time, and that is exactly what I intend to do. That son of a bitch is not leaving this railway in one piece. While Mr. Stodd had gathered his engines at Manifel, the engines loyal to British Railways had taken notice and had done the same thing up at Colford to try and work out why the Stodd loyalist had been gathered. I don't like this one bit. Last time they gathered like this, it began a chain of events that led to all of us being affected negatively.
Aye, I ended up off the rails and embarrassed at every turn I took, and I'd rather not have that happen again.
Maybe they've worked out some new way to get back at us.
Or maybe they've finally discovered who our guardian angel is and are planning to deal with him. What do you think, Hart? Hart stared out towards the line ahead, deep in thought. Hart, are you going to say anything?
I think I know what it is that they are discussing. It has to do with that accident that took place a while back.
The one Riley was involved with?
Yes, that one.
Why would they? That was ages ago by now.
Well, I heard Riley's rebuild was completed earlier today. Maybe that has something to do with it.
That's what I'm worried about.
How come? What aren't you telling us, Hart?
What I'm about to say cannot leave these sheds.
Blimey, that sounds quite serious.
That's because it is, Gregory. It could be the end of us if what I fear has happened is true.
Hart? What did you do?
Wait, don't tell me.
The day before the crash, that man from the board who spoke to us at Manifel last year approached me at Redwick. He told me that it was the perfect time to deal a strike against Mr. Stodd, and with it coming right off the failure of his vanity project, I was inclined to agree.
So what? You sabotaged the Panniers' train?
Not exactly. He told me I had to make sure this hurt Stodd, so I pushed him down the hill with extra wagons. The plan was for the Pannier to die, not his crew, but their sacrifice was necessary in the end, as it painted Stodd in a very bad light.
I'm not sure I feel okay with that. That's too far, mate.
Sabotage is one thing, but taking someone's life?
It was a necessary sacrifice. Their lives were worth more in death if it helps us get rid of this blight that is Mr. Stodd.
He's right. Everyone looked over King Richard, who had a neutral expression on the smokebox.
Excuse me?
You heard me. You've seen how distracted and out of it Mr. Stodd has been since his failure of an engine fell apart. The man has been left in shambles. If this is what it takes to bring him down, then I'm all for it.
You can't be serious. You two are actually stooping to the level of those radicals.
Of course not. They are doing it for the thrill of it.
And to try and chase British Railways off. We, on the other hand, are doing it to ensure that this railway survives, and because British Railways are asking us to.
That still doesn't excuse the death of 2 railway workers. Even they never went that extreme.
You think they wouldn't stoop to that level if given the chance?
Trust me, Gregory. What we are doing is for the greater good.
I find that hard to believe. Russell, you agree with me, right?
Russell shuffled uncomfortably as he looked between the other engines staring at him.
I guess if it truly helps our cause, then it is for the benefit of our survival.
You have got to be kidding me. I know for a fact you don't mean that, Russell. You're only saying that because those 2 are.
Well...
Forget this. I'm leaving.
Gregory, wait,
Let him go, Russell.
Yes, leave him be for a while. He will come back once he sees sense.
And if he doesn't?
Then he was never really cut out for this task that was bestowed upon us.
Right.
You're not having second thoughts, are you, Russell?
No, of course not. It's just a lot to take in that it's come to this.
We're at war here, Russell. There will be sacrifices along the way. And if others can't handle that, well, they are no longer of any use to us. Understand? King Richard and Hart Hall took the silence as a way to say message received. Russell was still a bit shocked at what he had heard, but knew that if he spoke up, like Gregory had, things could get pretty ugly with his only comrades on the railway. You know, I went to look at the repairs at Endon today. There used to be such a pretty and nice view of the line from there. Shame it's all gone now.
Have some respect, man. Men died there.
Only thanks to their own carelessness. Forgive me, but I have no sympathy for them.
You disgust me.
And I'm not here for niceties. Go on then. Why have you sought me out at this hour? What do you have for me? Anthony Manor glared at the man, disgust etched across his smoke box. Nevertheless, he continued.
They're planning something big for tomorrow.
What do you mean, big?
They say that Hart Hall's the one responsible for what happened to that pannier and his crew. Stodd's given them the order to get rid of him by any means necessary, and they're planning another sabotage attempt in the morning on his first goods train. I don't know when, where, or how, but they're seeing red.
Oh, you can't be serious. Just how did they find out about that? 7907 assured me there were no witnesses. Who could have seen?
You seriously haven't heard? The pannier tank survived. He's been bought and repaired by the people at the quarry on the branch. Hang on a minute. You're not seriously telling me that it's true? Hart actually did it!
Oh, come off it, 7801. Don't act all high and mighty. You said you were willing to do anything. This is just another step towards getting rid of that nuisance Stodd. The loss of the crew was unfortunate, but necessary. Anthony Manor was speechless. Yes, he had wanted to get rid of Mr. Stodd, but this wasn't the way to do it.
This isn't right.
Why do you care? You're a machine. You have no relation to those men. The death is meaningless to you.
Oh yeah? Well, you know what? If me helping you is going to get more people killed, then you can get by on your own. Come back to me when you find a more legitimate approach to this, rather than sinking to his level.
Hey, I didn't say we were done. Come back here. Do you think this is too far? Do you? Just you wait and see. I'll show you just how far I'm willing to go for this. In fact, yes, that could work. Anthony Manor was still in a huff as he moved towards Colford Sheds. The sudden revelation that Mr. Stodd had in fact been truthful about what happened to Riley had thrown him through a loop. He was so ingrained in his own thoughts that he almost didn't notice that someone was sat in the banker sighting. That someone being...
Thornton, what are you...
You seriously think I wouldn't find out?
Find out what?
I've been keeping my eye on you ever since that day Ramsey questioned us, when he said that you had joined them.
I told you not to pay him any mind.
Well, I'm glad I did. You're playing them all like a fiddle. You've been mixing yourself in with all this crap you convinced me so hard to ignore. Just a waste of steam, you said. Yet here you are, pretending to help Mr. Stodd's cause, while you feed British Railways with information about their ongoings.
Thorson, please, you don't know what you're talking about.
Don't I? Because it seems pretty clear to me. And besides, you would never do anything to benefit Mr. Stodd. You've hated him since before I was even built. I don't even understand why you resent him so much. Yes, he isn't perfect, but...
Of course you wouldn't understand. You didn't have to go through what I did. What he put me through.
What are you on about?
You wouldn't understand because you didn't have to go through what me and our brothers did. You were built with all our improvements right from the start. But me? No, I had to go through years of bullying and belittlement by that wretch of a manager before I was rebuilt. And even then he loved bringing it up at every opportunity he could. Every mistake I ever made, thrown back at me as if it was some sort of a game to him.
Thor stared in shock at his brother for a moment. He had never seen an outburst like this from him before. Anthony, you can't seriously be holding on to all of that after all this time?
What?
This is Mr. Stodd we're talking about, for goodness sake. He speaks like that to basically everyone he works with, engines and workers alike. He did the same thing to me when I accidentally went up the abandoned line 2 years ago, but it was clearly joking about it.
That's what you think. You haven't seen the sides of him that I have. You don't see the danger he poses to us all. If I allow him to continue with his plans, it'll mean the end of us all. I'm doing this so we can all live in peace here, without the threat of being killed by those radicals.
Do you honestly believe that? Are you so truly set in your ways that you don't even see that your involvement only escalates this whole thing to a whole new level? They're only using you, Anthony, and the moment they're done with you, you will be disposed of.
Maybe. But it's a risk I'm willing to take.
Well, I'm not. I will not watch you drag yourself to your doom. I'm telling the others. That way you won't be able to partake in this madness any longer.
Are you insane? If they found out I was double-crossing them the whole time, it would be the end of me. Would you be able to live with that, Thorson? Sending your own brother to his death, all for the sake of tripping up one of the sides?
Well,
I thought not, no. I'm the one who took you in when you first arrived here. Showed you the ropes, helped you fit in. You wouldn't be able to turn me in even if you wanted to.
You're right. I wouldn't.
I thought as much.
But until you give up this madness, you can stay the hell away from me. Go on to the sheds. I'll stay at Manifel tonight.
Wait, Thorson,
I said go! No more words were spoken between the two, as Anthony Manners slowly slunk away towards the sheds, with Thor shooting daggers at him as he went past. He knew he would have to make his brother see sense sooner rather than later, and understand that he was doing this for the good of the railway, but it was obvious Thor wouldn't listen. At least, not yet. Late that night, Darius approached the bridge at Endon. The engine was still absolutely furious about Mr. Stodd's revelation, not helped by his equally angry crew. They had been good friends with Riley's crew, and the loss had hit them hard. They came to a stop, and the crew disembarked. This is the place.
Well, let's get to work. You sure about this, Darius? Once we do this, there's no going back.
Yes, I'm sure. Aren't you?
Of course I am. Just making sure you are. We're going to do this no matter what. He's not going to get away with what he did. Not on our watch.
I can't believe I'm still being forced to take over for that lowlife of a Grange. This is most unbefitting for an engine like me. About time.
Down at Manifel, the engines were getting prepared for the day of work when all of a sudden, the station master came running frantically towards them, followed shortly by the sounds of alarms ringing. What's going on?
There's been a massive accident at the bridge near Endon. We need both cranes there immediately. I need one of you to go there on the double.
I'm the only one with steam, sir.
Then go! We don't have time to waste.
Don't bother.
Excuse me?
Have you gone mad?
Darius!
What are you talking about? Leave him at the bottom of the lake. He bloody deserves it, especially after what he did to Riley.
Darius, what have you done?
I made sure that cunt of a Hall never sees the light of day again. No one gets away with harming my friend like that.
Oh god.
Darius.
I don't understand what's going on here, and I don't have time to. But you've got it all wrong, Darius.
What are you talking about?
Hart Hall is not the engine involved in the accident at Endon.
Thor slowly came to a stop on the bridge as he surveyed the scene in front of him, his eyes filling with tears at what he saw. Passenger coaches were spread about and covered in blood. First responders were doing all they could to save people from a gruesome fate. And then, at the end of the coaches, lying there silent, was Gregory. He had crashed, smokebox first, into a rock, causing it to buckle inwards on itself, sealing his gruesome fate. Thor could not bear looking at the sight any longer. He turned his gaze to Axel, who had been the engine responding from Redwick, and hoped for a reassuring look in return. But there was none. Nothing but an empty look of sorrow in return. He began to sob quietly, and closed his eyes, hoping, praying, that this was all just a bad dream. Mr. Stodd sat in shock at the goods yard at Redwick, pale, unmoving, distraught. He couldn't believe what he had heard when he had arrived at work that morning. The workers were scrambling, trains were cancelled, and families were crowding the staff, begging for any information about their loved ones. But there was little to be said. Gregory had been traveling at line speed when the accident had occurred, so there was very little hope for most of the families. Mr. Stodd stared at his feet. He was struggling to comprehend just what could have gone so wrong.
Bradford.
Mr. Stodd snapped back to reality and looked up. There, Mr. Dexby was standing, a compassionate look on his face, something Mr. Stodd had never seen before. Henry, look, now's not a good time.
I know, Bradford, I know.
Right. The two men stood there in silence for a moment. I don't know what to do, Henry. This is all getting too much. First Reginald, then Riley, and now this. Where do I even go from here?
Where you go from here is up to you. But for now, you must remain strong and spring to action. You will have to face it, Bradford, not hide away. You will get through this. I know you will. Take action and face the consequences.
Yeah, you're right. I need to be strong, if not for my sake, for the sake of the families of those involved in the incident.
That's the right attitude, Bradford. I will be staying here for a while to make sure things don't go too awry. So if you need assistance, please let me know.
Really? With no favors in return?
None whatsoever.
Who are you, and what have you done to Henry Dexby? Mr. Dexby gave a slight smile and gestured towards the station. Mr. Stodd took a moment to collect his thoughts before the two made their way towards the station. But when they got there, Mr. Stodd looked surprised to see Mr. Dickinson and Mr. Knox standing at the platform, with station staff holding back people from pushing past them. The two men were looking at three engines, Russell, Levi, and between them, Darius. Henry, what's going on? Okay. As he walked closer to the scene in front of him, Mr. Knox, Mr. Dickinson, Russell, and Levi were all giving him cold stares, while Darius looked away in shame. Mr. Stodd felt himself grow nervous as he spoke. What's going on here? Shouldn't we be focusing on the families of those affected?
Bradford Aaron Stodd, this time you and your ragtag group of loyalists have gone too far.
What?
We have all known about your little scheme to make your higher-ups look bad for ages now. But we thought nothing of it, as it barely affected us. But this is too far, even for you.
I don't understand.
No? Well, let me spell it out for you. The accident today was nothing but an act of vile sabotage, one conducted by that mogul and his crew. He's already admitted to it, so don't bother trying to deny it.
Mr. Stodd's face drained of all color. Darius? What have you done?
Don't you dare put the blame on him. This would never have happened if you didn't put him up to it. He may have pulled the trigger, but you put the gun in his hands. Their blood, their lives. Gregory, that's on your hands.
That will do, 4211.
Russell continued to glare with rageful eyes at Mr. Stodd, tears streaking down his smoke box.
Mr. Stodd, you are hereby suspended from your position, pending investigation into the matter. You will not be allowed near any railway property until such a time that you are proven not guilty. But we both know that won't happen.
Mr. Stodd stared blankly at Mr. Dickinson, too shocked to say a single word.
I thought as much. You two, take him away. As for you, Mr. Stodd, you will not be allowed to leave till the police have been here to question you. I urge you to be honest with them. It might secure you a fair trial.
Mr. Stodd, No, Darius. Not another word. Darius began to sob as the two engines took him away from the station, while Mr. Stodd sat down, his legs too weak to carry him anymore. This was it. There was no coming back from this. It was over.
This wasn't supposed to happen. This isn't right.
I'm sorry, Anthony. I know you two were close.
He was my brother in everything but design. I just can't believe he... Thornton, what's you... Ouch! What are you playing at, Thornton? That hurt!
Cut the crap, Anthony! Did you know? Did you?
Have you gone mad?
You know damn well I haven't! Did you know this was going to happen?
Thornton Manor, calm down. What are you talking about?
Gregory's accident! Did you know?
No, of course I didn't.
How could he have known? It was an accident, for goodness sake. The hell it was! Darius admitted to doing it as soon as the call came in.
No. No. It wasn't supposed to be him.
So you admit it? You knew?
No, they were trying to get Hart, not Gregory. How did... Stodd, he...
Me?
How do you know all of this, Anthony? Don't tell me. Don't play coy, Richard! I know he's been helping you guys by spying on Mr. Stodd's operations from the inside. So why, Anthony? Why didn't you warn them? Hart and King Richard looked shocked at the manor. You were the insider?
Well, that certainly explains a lot.
I did warn them! Those freaks were seeing red after what you did to the Panier and his crew. They were going to hurt you no matter what, by Stodd's orders no less. Do I blame them? No. But I wasn't just going to stand by and let it happen. I informed the contact of what I knew, but still, this happened. How? It was supposed to be you.
Well, it's a good thing I wasn't, or this whole operation of ours would have fallen apart. I was late departing in the morning due to a delayed delivery, and the morning passenger service was scheduled ahead of me at the last minute.
Thornton, get out of my way.
Oh no you don't. I'm not...
I wasn't asking! I'm getting to the bottom of this. Move now!
Thor stared at his brother as he moves over to the next road, allowing Anthony to storm up towards Redwick. He was going to get answers, no matter what. Up at Redwick, Mr. Knox was still dealing with the public outburst when someone spoke up from behind him.
Sir, a word, if you please.
Oh, pardon me. 7801, is it? Now's not a good time. Please come back later.
Now, if you'd please. I'm not taking no for an answer.
Alright, fine. Meet me over at the goods building. And be quick about it. That was some stunt you pulled. Have you gone mad?
Shut up. What the actual hell happened?
You will not take that tone with me, 7801. But I'll humour you. What are you talking about?
You know damn well what I'm talking about. I warned you those psychopaths were planning something like this, so what the hell happened? You could have inspected the track, restricted line speed, anything!
As always, you fail to understand our mission. Our goal was to get rid of Mr. Stodd, no matter what. And a crash with a goods train simply wouldn't garner enough of an outrage to make the public hate him. 7907 already displayed that much when he caused that pannier to crash.
No, you didn't. Please tell me you...
Of course I did. Your warning presented a golden opportunity to get rid of Mr. Stodd. All it took was a slight delay of 7907's morning goods, and the rest would play itself out.
You sadistic bastard! All those people, the crew, Gregory, my friend. Why would you let something like this happen? All those lies just to get rid of one man? How could you possibly justify that?
How? Look at what's going on, 7801. It worked. The public hate him. He's going to trial for assisted murder. We won. This is what you wanted from the start, isn't it?
No, this is not what I wanted. You are sick, downright evil. You're not going to get away with this. You'll be the one going to trial. I'll make sure of it.
Oh, really? And please enlighten me. What would that accomplish? Even if, and only if, they believe you, I go to prison, Mr. Stodd comes back, and all of this was for naught. Face it, you're out of options. Don't let your friend's sacrifice be in vain.
Don't you dare! This was no noble sacrifice. You murdered him!
Yes. If you wish to see it that way. Anyways, I have better things to waste my time on. Farewell, 7801.
You'll pay for this. Mark my words.
Well, I must admit, that is not what I expected to hear today.
Oh, sir! What are you doing here?
I followed you here when I saw you walk away from the crowd of people, and I must say, I'm very glad I did.
Please, if you'd let me explain.
There is nothing to explain, Mr. Knox. I know they said some sacrifices had to be made, but this is not what I meant.
But it worked! We got him!
This is true, but it was executed in the worst way possible. You are extremely lucky that I still have a use for you. If anything like this happens again, you are done. Do I make myself clear?
Mr. Knox didn't have time to respond, as Mr. Dickinson walked past him towards the station. He was on thin ice, and he knew it. He took a deep breath and collected himself before walking back towards the station. Although, not without a hint of apprehension. Days went by like years. The railway eventually opened again after the investigation was conducted, but nothing returned to normal. Passenger numbers were down, and freight contracts were lost due to the public outlook on the railway. The media had branded the line as unsafe and poorly managed, causing many people to look for road transportation as an alternative. Morale was at an all-time low. None of the engines had seen or heard anything from Mr. Stodd due to his suspension, causing a great deal of worry. And then, there was Darius. Darius had been shunted into a siding, out of the way, and hidden from the world. No one had spoken to him since he was shunted there. All he could do was catch short glimpses of the engines as they passed, but no one looked back at him, not even so much as a glance. Then, one morning, 3 men arrived at the sheds as the engines were getting prepared for their day of work. The engines recognized them all: Mr. Dickinson, Mr. Knox, and surprisingly, the railway inspector who had visited them when Mr. Johnson had lost his job.
Good morning, engines. I hope you were all well this morning.
Just fine, thank you, sir.
To what do we owe the pleasure?
Straight to business then. I thought it was due time that we shared some information about some upcoming changes that will be happening going forward. But first, I'll let the inspector speak.
Thank you, sir. Hello, engines. It's good to see you all again. I just wish it was under better circumstances.
Likewise to you, sir. I take it you've been in charge of the investigation.
I am indeed. And I'm afraid it's not good news. Investigations reveal that the accident was indeed an act of sabotage, one conducted by Locomotive 5357 and its locomotive crew, who have all admitted to their part in the act.
And Mr. Stodd, right? He's the one who caused all of this to begin with.
That is where it gets complicated. These gentlemen here have given compelling evidence to Mr. Stodd conducting acts of sabotage against their company, and they believe strongly that he is involved somehow. However, the crew and locomotive deny any involvement from Mr. Stodd, which would be our only piece of proper evidence to his involvement. Without it, we're grasping at straws.
Some of the engines looked relieved, while others...
You can't be serious!
Sir, you said yourself you had been giving compelling evidence against Mr. Stodd.
I did, yes, and he will be punished severely based on the evidence. But we can't punish somebody without proof, which is why you aren't currently under investigation, 7907.
Me? What on earth did I do?
Nothing that we can prove, like I said. But everyone involved in this claimed that it was an act of retaliation against you. They say that you caused the accident involving Pannier Tank 5767 and the death of its crew. Even when inquiring with the engine involved, he claims that it was you. But because engine testimonies don't count as valid evidence in a court case, we can't prove it for sure. Personally, I would consider myself very lucky if I were you.
As if I'd ever stoop that low. And like you said, there is no proof saying otherwise.
Right. Well, as I have said, Mr. Stodd is currently being investigated thoroughly, and should any evidence be found that proves his involvement, well, I guess you can all guess what's going to happen. As for the crew of 5357, the evidence is all right there, and their admittance leaves no room for speculation. They will be brought before a court in the next coming days, and I don't see much hope in getting out of the death penalty.
No one responded to these words. They all knew how serious that sentence was.
That is all the information that I can divulge at this time. I will let you all get on with your day. Farewell.
The inspector walked away, and the 2 men took his place. Well, as you're all aware, this incident has left us with a damaged reputation that will be hard to shake off. We will have to improve quite drastically for the public to trust us again, and for that, some drastic changes will have to be made.
Firstly, and most importantly, there is the matter of Locomotive 5357.
Due to the severity of the incident produced by it and its crew, we believe wholeheartedly that no one would feel safe riding behind this locomotive. As such, the unanimous decision of the board has been to send 5357 for scrap, effective immediately, with no chance of purchase from any outside sources. Nobody could believe what they had just heard. Darius, a good friend, hard worker, and mentor to some, had effectively been sentenced to death. Some began to cry. Others stared harshly at the two men. Even the engines loyal to British Railways stared in disbelief at what they had heard.
But you can't just...
We can, and we have. The decision has already been made, and you will not talk back to me unless you're spoken to. Are we clear, 1025?
Moving along. Secondly, any stock and locomotive power that is owned by Bradford Aaron Stodd will no longer be permitted to traverse on British Railway property outside of an emergency situation. All ties to him and his private operations will be cut, so as not to risk any ill intent on our railway.
Well, what about me? I can't go on the Eastwood branch. The trackbed isn't strong enough to hold me. Locomotive 8023 is still bound to British Railways by contract for another year and 4 months. You will continue to be operated, but your owner will not be compensated. The earnings will instead go towards the families of those who were killed or injured in the crash.
As for management, with Mr. Hoff away from the railway, Mr. Knox here will take charge of the railway under my supervision until such a time where either Mr. Hoff returns or Mr. Stodd is found innocent. But let's be honest, we all know that's not likely to happen.
Thank you, sir. There will be many other changes to come in the near future. For now, we have some more important meetings to attend to. I bid you all a good day. The two men walked away, leaving the engines to reflect upon what they had just been told.
I don't believe it. Darius, it's not right.
I must admit, I did not foresee this outcome. But if that's what they deem to be the best course of action, then I believe them.
The death penalty is never the right option, be it an engine or man, but even with that in mind, I don't feel any remorse for him. After seeing what I saw that day, I could never take pity on someone that could do something so vile.
Unexpected, but deserved.
What about everyone trapped on the Eastwood branch? Rab, Seb, Virgil and Clint. What about them? If I had to guess, if, and only if, Mr. Stodd is charged as guilty, his assets will be liquidated to help pay off any fines he would receive, meaning they would either be sold off to another party, or
sent for scrap, as they should have been years ago.
No! That can't happen!
Not to worry. Should it come to that, I would step in.
What? Who's there? A man in a red suit suddenly stepped out from around the corner of the sheds.
It's good to see those goons have gone. I never did like those bored twats.
And just who might you be?
Hang on a minute. I recognize you.
Me too. I've seen you at the industrial estate.
Mr. Dexby, right? I remember seeing and hearing about you back on New Essex.
Correct. And you will be seeing a whole lot more of me in the coming weeks.
Wait, Mr. Dexby? As in, the owner of the Dexby Railway?
The one and the same. And you are Hart Hall, I presume.
I see my reputation precedes me.
The less said about that, the better. Anyway, as I said, you engines have nothing to worry about. I will make sure none of your friends on the Eastwood branch face the cutter's torch. You have my word.
Some of the engines breathed a sigh of relief, but...
Well, what about Darius? Will he...
I am sorry. There is nothing I can do for him.
Pah! There is nothing you can do regardless. You're just another controller who clings onto your ancient relics of the past that you call steam locomotives.
I'm sorry. Would you care to repeat that?
I've seen your old clapped-out engines running on the network. They look like they belong in the last century. You should have modernised your fleet years ago. Who knows? You might actually make a profit if you use big, strong, modern locomotives like me.
Now you listen here, you pompous git. My engines could rip you in half. You think that just because you are modern, that you are the next best thing? My fleet is wiser, kinder, stronger, and more unique than you will ever be. Modern engines like you say, don't make me laugh. Your design is already dated. You are already being replaced. There will always be something newer, shinier, and more powerful than you.
Hart was caught off guard by the sudden outburst from Mr. Dexby, struggling to find a retort.
I thought as much. We are done here. I will be seeing you engines around. I will be always watching, especially you.
Mr. Dexby walked away, leaving the engines to start their work, but no one wanted to. Everything they fought for, everything they cared for, all they wanted to preserve, it was all gone. It was over. British Railways had won, and they had lost. All the engines could hope for was that they would all come out of it alive. Who's there?
Not to worry, old boy. I'm not here to cause you any further harm.
Oh, that's a first.
I'm an acquaintance of Mr. Stodd. He is unfortunately not able to come and see you. I figured someone should.
Right. How is he?
Not great, but I have faith that he will persevere. Thanks to you and your crew denying any involvement from him, they are struggling to find evidence to prosecute him. You did well.
But I caused the disaster. I killed all of those people.
I ruined everything.
Your plan may have backfired, but your intentions came from a good place. You wanted revenge for what that Git 7907 did to your friend, and you did what you could.
I guess.
Your friends know you didn't mean for it all to happen like this, and deep down, neither does Mr. Stodd. He will need time, but he will see it one day.
You really think so?
I know so.
Alright, man. Lunch is up. Let's get this over with.
I guess this is it then.
Yes, it would seem so. I am sorry I could not do more for you, Darius.
No. You've given me peace. I'm not afraid anymore. Thank you, Mr. Dexby.
I am glad I could have helped, but I believe I should take my leave before I get seen.
Farewell, sir.
Rest well, you brave old engine.